Hey everybody, I'm back with more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. This is episode 4, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Okay, so last time we ended with quite the cliffhanger. Now, I said back in episode 2 when we were on the boat that this game has a tendency to trick you into thinking that you're solving the crime. It'll kind of lead you toward making conclusions without it making it seem like the game is doing that. And then the game will start to make it seem as if you're on the right track. It'll start like feeding confirmations to your assumptions that it knows you're making. And then it will dash those assumptions and make fun of you for even thinking them. And that's what happened. I fell right into that trap with the last trial because I was starting to put the crime together, and then it turned out that there was some forged evidence, and the conclusion I was coming to ended up not being the case. And oddly enough, we'd never find out who the real killer is. We got an acquittal without really knowing what really happened. Now, I'm still of the opinion that McGilda didn't do it, just because there's the one character that was in the carriage with him who kind of vouched for him and said, no, he was the only one in there with me. So I'm thinking that there's still a real killer out there, and McGilda, while being a scumbag, is not the murderer. But anyway, and the carriage that was the most crucial piece of evidence in the last trial was set ablaze by some mysterious person, and there was somebody inside who I'm led to believe is McGilded. So that's the recap. Let's see if we can find out what the hell even happened. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Burya, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. What were these two doing? Except, when I learned we owed £3 for the rooms. Oh, rooms, plural. Okay, never mind. That dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops. Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. Look at her. Oh. I really am sorry. Then she just blinks her tears away. Well, never mind that. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Ugh. London is a scary place. Good morning to you at this early hour. This guy. Oh, yes. Wait, well, So this guy, I had conflicting thoughts about this guy. First, I thought he might be, I thought he might be Sherlock Holmes because in Sherlock Holmes is one of the one of the great masters of disguise. He knows how to completely change his appearance and make it seem like he's someone else. And I thought, well, this guy's kind of got the Sherlock jacket. He's kind of Sherlock size, so maybe this is Sherlock. Maybe this is Sherlock Holmes in disguise. And I don't know. The other thing I was thinking, which is completely the opposite way from that, is that you'll remember the dagger from the last case, the monogram dagger that was the murder weapon, that had a big old M on it. Well, this guy's name, look at that. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this guy's the killer. Because he did send us into that trial without really telling us what was going on. He basically set us up to lose. And, or seemingly set us up to lose. And if that had happened, if he was in fact the real killer, and he let someone else get convicted for the crime, then he would basically get away with it. So I'm thinking, maybe he's our guy. But I don't know about that either. So the happenings of the carriage murder is a complete mystery, and I have this sinking feeling that we're not going to find out what the hell happened in that case for a long time. Anyway. Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Stronghart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And, Susato. And, in accordance with your instructions, Lord Stronghart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh, no longer are you a student of the Empire of Japan. You make henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your next appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. Has Naruhodo even been in England for 24 hours? He's already on his second case. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. It's true, that is the job of the defense attorney, is just to get an acquittal. You're not supposed to solve the crime. Although this is Ace Attorney. What more were you hoping for? The game making fun of you for assuming this is going to be a normal Ace Attorney game. The culpability of the defendant has not, at present time, been established by the court. So this is a flashback. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Okay, this was also weird. We had a jury trial, and 2 times during the trial, the jury came to a conclusion, a unanimous decision, and the trial was going to end, and then we overturned both of them in the course of the trial, and it got to continue. And then at the very end, the judge just goes, okay, well, the prosecution doesn't have any compelling evidence, so I'm just going to end it. Like, suddenly it's a pretrial hearing where he's like, yeah, I'm just going to dismiss with prejudice, so not guilty. Very strange. Oh, geez, this guy... I'm pretty sure this guy died. And I still have to do his voice. God damn it. Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. Amazing defense. The best. Unbelievable. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo. It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Stronghart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Yes, McGilded is dead. Murdered. And somebody's responsible. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Okay, you're gonna have to fill me in on this, buddy. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll probably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yeah, so I had some theories about this thing, too, because this is the thing where, like, there was some evidence that suddenly appeared in the middle of the trial after the smoke bomb incident. And I was thinking that maybe there were two different carriages, and I forgot to check the video last time to see if maybe there was a difference between... There's a number on the back of the carriage. I was trying to see if... I meant to see if there was a different number between the first half of the trial and the second half, and I forgot to look. So I'll probably do that after I'm done recording this. Anyway, yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No! How could such a thing have happened? That's a very good question. That is being investigated as we speak, but already... The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of Mr. McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside while the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. There's something really fishy going on here. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. I don't see why not. But then who is Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. True, it's not my job to investigate the crime. That's for the police to handle. The matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Oh, there you go. Poor Mr. McGilded. British court. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. My sentiment, exactly. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. Did she just read my mind? The blue text... yeah, the blue text is him thinking to himself, so what the hell just happened there? The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Stronghart, but the case was anything but simple. At one point, we actually did lose, and it was only because Susato knew something about the legal system that we even got to challenge it. So if that hadn't happened, yeah, we would have lost. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. Achievement unlocked. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. There's a whole lot of luck. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth. Well, did I meet your expectations or exceed them? You seem to be of two different minds here, buddy. Because you told me just a minute ago that we couldn't have lost. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? Ominous. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me. It's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. Yeah, I'm sure we got 24 hours this time to prepare, right? In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? I think everybody's reading Naruhodo's mind. That is to say, no one has died. As yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. So, a day, right? 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So yeah, like I said, 24 hours. Huh, so the trial's tomorrow then. Because that's enough time to prepare for a defense trial. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in the courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense, which is why you're asking me to do it. Isn't that kind of, obvious. Oh. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Ugh, here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds... Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh! Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had the chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he had ever made... You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Sogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. Well, Kazuma and I had a special connection. Anyway, never mind that. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma, what did he mean? What did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Okay, let's see what this guy is up to. Oh, I have to examine him first. What the hell is he eating? French fries? I'm sorry, it's Britain, so chips. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Jeez. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hands, you know. But Susato told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there Could you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Grayson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. All because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard, going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Huh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? So, Lord Stronghart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato. But he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very much, in fact. Very well. Yes, he features prominently in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Of course. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rancid Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course. But he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that, to start with, I'm a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folks are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I got the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Wait, I want to reread that. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Okay. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baroque Van Zeeks. Oh, that guy. The guy I beat yesterday. Sounds like you've heard of him, then. Oh, yes, we're very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. More like Dracula, really. Lord Baroque Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilded told us about him before the trial, didn't he? Oh, come on. Oh, thought I was gonna have to voice the Scottish man again. When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. Oh, that is what he said, though. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? Well, except for one. Not to brag. Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Huh. And what of it? Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No. You really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Magnus Begilded came a cropper in the omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt, if Van Zeeks, oh my God, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. And that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that, if I were you. Are you really supposed to believe that? Are we really supposed to believe that? Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you say, didn't you? Where the incident took place. That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already. He's as good as, shaken like a leaf in his cell, he is. I'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. It'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer, and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. Docking Bay 94. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. If the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try. So I think I'm going to make some enquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes, let's go! Okay. Okay. We go to the Briar Road or we go to the prison? Let's go to the prison first. 19th February, local prison, cell number 9. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark in the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding in the back of the cell and show your face at once, you scum. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me a number? It's utterly unbelievable. Unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. I am not a number. I am a free man. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea. But I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. This guy's supposed to be Japanese. Excuse me. Shh, quiet. They're all around hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. What's with this guy's eyes? Right. So, could I ask you who exactly... There you are. You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner. Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it. It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumental, moving moment. What the hell's with this guy? Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Stronghart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh, dear me, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can. I will. I shan't stay sullen and silent. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer. As you said, my name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably, notoriously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Natsume. Like the people who gave us, shit, what was the name of that game again? Harvest Moon. Soseki Natsume. What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. Something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right. No. Don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffer that misery. Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something, does it mean you can do it? No. What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words of on white washi. Is this gonna be this guy's gimmick the whole way through? You must be a man of great standing. Oh, yes. So I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Okay. Now, what are you accused of? Oh, yeah, stabbing. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Suseki? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. Murder? Oh, no. It's all right. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. We picked up a weirdo. So Suseki was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. No shit. That's why we pay you the big bucks, Susato. Anyway, about the case. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slab of stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran. I ran so far away. Couldn't get away. I mean, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Suseki, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? Wow, racist. And a young woman at that? Sexist. I'm diffident? I swear every single day that I play this, there's like a new word that I've never heard before. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I'm diffident. Okay. I see. A young woman, unknown to Suseki, and at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What? What conundrum? He did it. Well, goodbye. Good luck on the trial tomorrow. What do you mean, Susato? What's this conundrum? Well, if what Saseki has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. I'm not the culprit, and don't call me Shirley. What did you just say? Nothing, I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Yeah, it's like everyone can read his mind now. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Saseki actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh, yes, she's right. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective? Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. British brash, brick-headed busybody. I didn't even get to read all of that. May you be cursed until the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes. Oh yeah, the German Englishman. I knew it. Mr. Sholmes. Hairlock Sholmes. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was the thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a... And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Hairlock Sholmes. It's actually Herlock Sholmes. He's English, not German. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the Great Detective is really very well known. Wait, he did this yesterday? So he got off the boat with us and then immediately accused someone of a crime? And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm a knife-wielding madman. Me, the weak, stooped kitten of a man? I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign flim-flammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles. Before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine, I'm fine. He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo, and when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh yes, alright, yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. I'm sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, what do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. Must be very hard for you, Soseki. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, this man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Soseki, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be here all alone, waiting for you, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo. We have a case to prepare for. Okay, I guess we're done with this guy. So, where to next? I guess we're going to Briar Road. 19th February, Briar Road. There's a snowman. So this is where it happened, Briar Road. Look, Mr. Naruhodo! That snowman is a witness. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. Yeah, that guy on his hands and knees looks really busy. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd actually come this close to a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. This guy. So you got more chips. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Grayson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been told the holding cells then, or you've been to the holding cells then. What'd you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. That's racist. Well, do what you will. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. A stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Okay, do I have anything? Oh. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, madam. Ma'am. Oh, and you know I've dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. Oh, I'm sorry, I should... Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. Sometimes I don't realize that I'm reading the line wrong until after I finish the sentence. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yep. Raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets and all day. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. Can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Perhaps if you converted that to meters. Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately a distance approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. When it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh yeah, somebody's got to do that. Oh my! I suppose it's between all those duties, bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if... Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. It happened around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago. Just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious? Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes round pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. I just happen to have this. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's Yard's policy to give lawyers defendant suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I'm sorry about the reading. I'm really stumbly today. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. We're not even in court yet. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone doesn't mean we have to be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah! It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now. Who are these witnesses? They didn't happen to have top hats, did they? Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife. The man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Oh, great. A policeman. That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked. Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching them banging the act and all. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like in court tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Sure. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered the lodgings. His lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions. Fiddle faddle. Ah! The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah. Ever seen this before? Oh yes, that's Rancid Magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any of Herlock Sholmes, Herlock Sholmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us as at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Okay. Tomorrow's trial. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me. But I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey. You mean? There's no way to save that man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper, he hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper of the Bailey to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No. There's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. Really, what sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of the Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it. Don't fear the Reaper, Ryunosuke. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you it's not simply my selfish desire to meet Mr. Sholmes again. Sure. The trouble is, says Ryunosuke, we have no idea of the man's address. It's Baker Street. Don't throw me. How do you know that? It's in the stories. Of course, it's in the stories. 221B Baker Street. The most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage! So we're having a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Okay, I want to examine some stuff first. Let's look at Frosty here. What a delightful snowman! I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy, though. Oh, it has a scarf, look. You need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. You certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. She keeps reading my mind! Yes, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Okay, let's look at this. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage! They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, it's the only way. Help me find a good stone. No! I wasn't serious. I was being facetious. William Robbins. Okay, let's look at this guy. It's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught. I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. Or I'm sorry, I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Okay. Let's have a look around. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yes, you're right, cheap, but ideally with reasonably level floors. Oh yeah, this place looks like a piece of shit. That bike's not going anywhere. Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it wouldn't be possible. It couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. Seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well. The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. You've ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river? I know you'd agree with me. What an odd thing to say. We'll have to hire a bicycle then. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. Oh look. Look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. There's smoke coming out of the chimney, though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place. Okay, I presume that's it. Oh, look at that. Look at that building back there. Clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? With the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it is known as Foggy London Town. I could just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though. Aha, yes. That must be the Crystal Tower being built for the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. It's to be the largest exposition in history, is it? I can't even begin to imagine it. Okay, they're actually talking about that building right there. Okay, I hope that's it. I don't see anything else to really select. Just really quick, go back here. Yeah, I don't need to look at him. Okay, it looks like we've got everything. Okay, let's move on to... A new location has been added. I know! Can we really visit, do you think? Pinch me, I'm sure I must be dreaming. Oh, she says stuff. I never noticed that. I'm not even looking at that. Okay. Alright, let's head over there. Oh, a cutscene. We didn't get our normal animation at the beginning.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Okay. 12:53 p.m. on February 19th. Sholmes' suite. So this is where the great detective makes his living. Feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yeah. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. Huh, she's obsessed. Well, looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. How did we get in? Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? A visitor? Hello. Isn't she the little girl from the last chapter? Hello, is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. That is a real Sherlock Holmes case. I'm sure there are other Sherlock Holmes references I'm not picking up on because I haven't read all the stories, but the King of Bohemia was this one where I think he was like concerned about a photo that like some woman had of him, and it was some blackmail case, but it was one of the few cases where Sherlock Holmes doesn't actually succeed. I'll just leave that to you. You should go check out Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, the King of Bohemia? King Wilhelm Gottsreich, oh my god, Van Ormstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Holmes for a moment and look over there. The tea's brewed. I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you! I knew it. Susato recognizes her too. Ah, there you are. Taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run, my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, The inventor, I suppose, of that machine. So you're responsible for that. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. No shit. Oh, yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you knew Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley. Ah, Iris is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait, this can't be. Did you say your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Susato? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Susie? And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. She's not a transformer. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start. Yes, so do I. Okay, I happen to know that there are some things we have to do here. I've seen pictures of a Western musical instrument like this. It's called a violin, isn't it? Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. Oh, really? Absolutely. It's often explained in his stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational. I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find. What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London. Oh yes, well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So now it's merely an ornament in my room. That must have been an awkward conversation. Okay, and... Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter. What does that mean? Don't you want to hear what Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll come back to that blackboard later. Okay, that should have been an achievement. Are the achievements showing up or not? What on earth is that big black lump over there? Oh, that fascinating thing is called a typewriter. Oh, I understand. I know why that achievement didn't show up yet. It's a multi-part achievement. Never mind. It's called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quickly, too. Oh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. I can relate. Actually, I have terrible handwriting, but I think it's because I type everything. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles, too. Oh, yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Explode? Do they have to be so high up then? They're not. Look at the tiny shelf they're on, and they're not even like barricaded in there. They could just fall on the floor. Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And as Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science. Sorry? I agree, a single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world. Or perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note, do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. Okay, just having a look around. Books. What a beautiful English tea set. And so neatly arranged. It's a favorite pastime of mine, a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea made of herbs? Well, yeah. That's right. I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden, so I can experiment with different blends. One moment. Don't go away. I'll brew a pot of the special blend I came up with earlier today. She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink. Okay, well. Alright, let's see what else. Oh my god, there's all this stuff to check out. A mystery shoe, curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. What an entrancing collection. This is the first time in my life I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases. Really? Even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. The poor defenseless emperor, Mr. Sholmes, destroys it? Yes, and then he buys a new one. You make it sound like he has a temperament. Like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. How entrancingly bohemian of him. Okay. Check out this fireplace. Another shoe. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. It's so relaxing. We can't relax, not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories, is it? Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example, are my chocolates for elevenses. Every now and then, this game will throw a word at me that I'm just like, what? And transfixed by the large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. Wait, did I read that? And transfixed by that large jack. Okay. Oh, it's just not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Poor Susato, she looks crushed. Okay, let's take a look at it. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. Seems very sturdy with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? Oh, that chest contains some of my most valuable things. That smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. Okay, well... Okay, one more room. Okay, looks like it's just the one thing. Oh, there's this up here. What? Why are there all those bullet holes in the wall up there? Was Mr. Sholmes trying to shoot a pestry fly or something? Mr. Sholmes would never do something so reckless. No? Those are the letters VR standing for Victoria Regina. It's Latin for Queen Victoria. So you mean he shot the Queen into the wall? In a moment of boredom, Mr. Sholmes adorns the wall with a patriotic sign, that's all, as pistol practice. Right, that makes perfect sense now. It's exactly as it's described in the stories. Oh, this is delightful. Not sure that the real explanation is any less reckless than shooting at a fly, personally. It's patriotic, Mr. Naruhodo. Patriotic. Okie doke. There's still more stuff. There's all sorts of these shelves, chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much of those shelves. Good advice. He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago, but it was so tightly wedged in he couldn't get it out. So he went and bought a new copy instead. Makes perfect sense. Now, what the hell is this thing? What on earth is that huge over-the-top machine? That's the great analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really. Anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of thing has he analyzed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh. Why not? Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him, I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Oh dear. How about you, Runo? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze? The only thing that springs to mind is the machine itself. Okay, looks like that's everything. Okay, now, back to the center room. Let's talk to this little brat. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey. Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, no, not at all. I'm so very sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming, is how I should have said it. Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Ugh. Thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Jeannie? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to the trial-disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. So she's responsible for all the crap that Sherlock Sholmes had on the boat. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Sherlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. I think we know half the story. Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, and... Oh, you have a copy of Rance magazine! Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. So she's the Dr. Wilson in the stories, then. So apparently the other Dr. Wilson may not have anything to do with this. They really are quite fascinating. It'd be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness! Last night he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you're the author? Yes. I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure the Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Ah ha ha ha! Okay, so this would have been really funny if it was in fact Sherlock Holmes in this game, because it kind of puts this weird twist on the stories. Because all the Sherlock Holmes stories are narrated by Dr. Watson, or most of them are. I think there's a couple that aren't. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story, so poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? I love the twist that it puts on the stories that way. Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rance magazine all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine? Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true, too. I'm a doctor of medicine. No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old. Well, that's quite incredible. But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the settings slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl and... Wait, what did I read that wrong? Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? Oh yeah, a great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. Yeah, that does sound a little troubling. I suppose it does, yes. So she's like it's like Detective Conan. You have the investigator and the little kid that follows him around. Detective Conan is a great anime, by the way, and manga series. You should check it out. Poor Susato. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Detective Conan is basically Sherlock Holmes in anime form. Oh, and there also is there's a Sherlock Holmes anime called Sherlock Hound that was made back in the 80s. That's also worth checking out. It's actually really good. About before. Yes, what's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular. Oh, God! First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident that you had only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed the red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. Has that been there the whole time? We were given that when you were given that when you visited the local prison to meet a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Okay, so it's only been there since they went to the prison. Although I wonder if that was there on her model when they were on the street with the inspector. I'll have to go back look at the video to see. They used those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Mr. McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. How could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now Runo has a fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both came from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. There was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife. You know, he's silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed the certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, it was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris, please? Okay, you know what? I'm going to break it right there. And I'll be back in just a little bit, because I need to take a little break. So we're going to save. And I'll see you in just a bit. Alright, we're back. Nope. Okay, before we do any more talking with this kid... This comes up again. Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Black Peter? What does that mean? Oh, how intriguing. It must be the title of Iris's latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us. Susato looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most grisly crime you could imagine. It's a case that Hurley solved just recently. A black cat called Peter went missing in the neighborhood. Hurley tracked it down at the fishmonger... What? Hurley tracked it down at the fishmongers in the end. Well, I can't wait for the story to be published. Okay, let's talk to her about this one last thing. The case of the Japanese man. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah! The great detective is a popular man, it seems, so he had nothing to do with it. Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume beyond any doubt. So Seki said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. but it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking stooped man, shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course it did. He's a great detective, as we saw on the boat. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely, and don't call me Shirley. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Ah, well. I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Grayson when you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Grayson. Ah, goody. Then in that case, give Craigsy this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris's postcard has been entered. Okay. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, that will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Yeah, and I think, much like in Detective Conan, I think she's the real genius here, and the detective is just a bumbling idiot. Okay. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with... Let me reread that. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Well, I suppose if I had just waited, I could have broken it here. Oh well. I should have known I was close to a save point anyway. They seem to come like every 2 hours, on average anyway. 19th of February, 2:38 p.m., Briar Road. Looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Perfect, so let's find Inspector Grayson as quickly as possible. Yes, let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Wait, are we actually going to bribe a policeman? Wait, let me examine this first. Okay, oh. Wow, what a detailed map. Calabash Road. Briar Road. See, this is the only other road that's labeled. I bet that comes into the case. Oh, there's this one. Mearsham Street. Is that how you pronounce that? Probably not. Anyway. Take that. Inspector, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that here at once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Don't wait for me to give it to you. Don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee, that's what it is. A bribe. Oh, I see. You mean... That's right, for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time. Yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still. I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never do you mind that. So, what'd you want to know then, anyway? Eh? What'd you want to know then, eh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously, it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What'd you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ah, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there, look. It's that... Oh, of course it is. On the first floor of that house, on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up. I should have known. That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John... Garadeb? Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it, you tell her that Grayson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Well, then. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Okay. No. Move. A new location has been added. I know! May I help you? Ah, yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Garadeb? Indeed it would, sir. And who, may I say, is calling? My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodging here. He takes lodgings here? We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb. Oh, Did you see that, Mr. Sato? That was a real-life English maid. I know, as I understand it, anyone of standing in England's society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. Certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way. Oh. I guess we got to examine him before. What the hell? A cannon. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing here? Oh my, it's real. Thought it might be a replica. That old thing, that's little more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really, isn't it overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, my boy. Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garadeb? Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon there, Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Okay, well, we're gonna look at this. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing? Puh, not much better than rags, really. Oh? Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past, me. I would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it? Oh, I see. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. Okay. Looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me that it's not straight. Yeah, what the hell? Like, nothing on that wall is straight. What, that old thing? Sorry? I should be glad to see the back of it. I should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just been polished to shine by accident. Oh, this is Ryunosuke. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose. There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation. Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals that to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. I like this guy. Look at that enormous screen. Must have been put there deliberately, surely. Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm gonna have a very quick look, just a little peek. Ahem, ahem. Oh, there's a maid. Ahem, ahem. Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. Okay, what else do we have? Do we really have to look at everything on the mantle? Are those mortar shells? They're enormous. Oh, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here? Those old things. Couple of little rounds I accidentally fired into the barracks during training, you know? There's a bit of colorful regiment folklore that became a bit of colorful regiment folklore, that incident. You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells? Well, I wouldn't say deliberately exactly. They're only scrap iron after all. Usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you? Useful for what exactly? Yes, well. Joan here did manage to knock one of the belly things on my foot the other day while she was dusting. Oh no! Hadn't shed a tear since 1869. Before then, you know. Maybe reconsider throwing them away. Okay, so there's that. Okay. That portrait of Mr. Garrideb is glaring at me, I swear. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrideb as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. Yes, seems to come back from the local pawnbroker with... yes, seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket. Seemed to come back? What do you mean? The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now I think about it, I'd rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need. The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements. Susato doesn't pull her punches, or her throws for that matter. Okay, so is that everything? No, of course not. Books. Notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garrideb. Do you enjoy reading? Ever experienced a London winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book. Oh! There's a copy of Rant's magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garrideb enjoys the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, too. The great detective has many great followers, it would seem. Okay, there's a whole other... okay, it's not that much. Look at these... Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it? Looks like garbage. Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? No. Though the shelves seem to be broken and the crockery is... Oh dear, it's in pieces. It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice. Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it. Yes, probably something like that. But let's not delve too deeply here. Okay, I guess we have one more thing. Oh, look! What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand. Lined up, it looks more like someone has half demolished them to me. Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It is quite the English way. It is Mr. Garridub's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful. Oh, wait a minute, though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand. Well, naturally. It would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Garridub doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up. How magnanimous of you. Candle. That old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason. That old thing, yes. Just a cheap piece of ironmongery. And gimcrack, really. Oh. Used it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to, really, but... well, it still has its uses sometimes. Of course. Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it? They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories. Okay, what is that? It doesn't have, like, a highlight, though. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. We can hold our horses now and actually talk to this guy. Good day to you, John Garridub, at your service. Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maiwand. Don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comings. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now. I can tell you, don't get out much, as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the 2nd floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo. Do you think so? Well, Mr. Garridub, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Jesus. Dash it, woman, be careful. Oh, dearie me, I do beg your pardon, sir. You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands. I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it, living this quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right? Yes, we'd be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us. Only 2, please, naturally, especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We've forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in public eye, as it were. Oh, it is? Even had some famous detective poking around, you know. This old house, would you believe? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business. Oh, but you have a copy of Rant's magazine here, so... Anyway, the maid's talking. Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak. I can't do that voice without my voice cracking. So he's in Susaki's room. It's a belly nuisance, is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling. About Mr. Natsume. About Mr. Natsume, then, Mr. Garadeb. Please do tell us. Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently, then. I have 2 lodgers most of the time. One on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available 1 week ago. Ah! Dasha-Joan, do be careful. Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. You want to know my opinion? Or if you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh, why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later, he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We wouldn't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Oh, yes. Yes, indeed, there was. And she's dying to tell us. God damn it. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? Oh my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchid. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room, absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed too. Oh, I see. The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known the Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning. Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder? Could we please stop talking to the maid? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh! I understand that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house, is that correct? That's right, yes. They're both below us, on the first floor and the street level. Then, how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise time that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed. Good grief, Joan. Be more careful, woman. Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir. Something doesn't add up here. Okay, let's talk about the incident 2 days ago. Seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time? The window? Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby? 5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadeb household. So I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan? No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road. Oh, I see. Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then? Such as? Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated. Well. Yes? Was there something then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but at a... For the love of God, Joan, watch what you're doing. Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir. Do be more careful, woman. Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all. Oh, really, Mr. Garadeb? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been. Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, and really... Joan, dash it! What is the matter with you, woman? Begging your pardon, sir? Nothing happened? Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quite uneventful meal, Joan? That's right, Mr. Garadeb. What is the matter with these two? Sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Ah, here we go. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Didn't they already? Why, certainly, just below us on the first floor. And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there, even as we speak? Yes, told him Nat's his name, had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key. Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services? That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean? Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Yes, while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more. Okay, let's get the hell out of here. These two are weird. Oh, wait, no. There we go. Okay, you don't have to keep telling me that. Mr. Natsume's room. It's a kitty cat. 19th of February, Mr. Natsume's room. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me neither. It's so dark in here, too. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think, yes, once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere. Have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garrideb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere, investigating. Okay, I bet if we examine, and then just... Well, we don't really have anything else to do. That bag... Is that his bag? Because it kind of looks... That's the same bag that was in the... that I tried to highlight before in on the ship, and it wouldn't do anything. Look at all those balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over them in English. Looks like the wastepaper basket is so full that they're just falling out. I think Mr. Natsume must have been deeply immersed in his research, don't you? Or deeply adverse to tidying up his mess. I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to the truth. Could you even call that a window? I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although, all that remains is a frame around some bricks now. So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? And why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? Great, I have no idea. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on in a fit of whimsy. That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive. It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. Okay, we gotta check out the cat. Aww. Kitty had to stretch. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after the books whilst his master is away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into the pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor... I suppose it's supposed to be Mike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan. That made me feel homesick now. Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it, look. And the date of purchase. Ah, 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. Evidence! That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. Okay, it's added to the court record then. Awesome. Look at all these books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature. They all smell so musty. With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you? Now, what a dreamy idea. Bad dream, maybe, for me at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again. So reading is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us. I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Okay, what's this thing? Doesn't highlight, so... What's this thing? Oh, look! It's a beckoning cat from home. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring the Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. It's clearly working. It's not doing a very good job so far, is it? You mustn't say such things. I didn't say a word. She's reading my mind. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? She's done that like 5 times already. Ah! Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from? He seems to be engrossed in the page of old book of it. Oh my god, he seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you two, good day. Now, let me see, where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burya. Yes, of course, the Burya. Let me see, what happened on the voyage? It was Kazuma Isogi. He died tragically, but you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Isogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it? Oh, well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. I lose the first round. This guy's amazing. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me on the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Soseki in that short of an amount of time. I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvement a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled The Study in Scarlet. which is the first Sherlock Holmes book. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. It's so weird that copyright was the issue with having Sherlock Holmes in this game, but otherwise they're referencing all of the Sherlock Holmes stories. It means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned. Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. Okay. Mr. Natsume's arrest. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume, yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines. But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? I can't believe he was looking Susato squarely in the eye when feigning ignorance. I assure you I'm not merely feigning ignorance. God, what the hell? It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh, how? I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. Ah, a man seen fleeing. There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was surely able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Come up, there we go. Tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garrideb, a retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution, that is, the services. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution, that is, service. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer. And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Oh my god. Betoken their social standing? Sorry? I get tripped up when I see like weird words like that. I'm sorry. Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelon of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary. As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. It is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs, specifically in the retired Army veteran, Mr. John Garrideb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say. Okay, the dingy room. This room is thoroughly suffocating to the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner. Oh, anyone who lives in a place like this will stab somebody sooner or later, is what he's saying. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts, but it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that is quite simple. Window tax. Window tax? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable but costly family home, perhaps rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere. In an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. Though it appears so. I've done a little digging and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, this is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remember that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized. And so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes? Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but... thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my intention, my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us. I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garrideb is? Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garrideb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. No. Okay, busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Has he? Oh, yeah, there he is. Wait. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, so true. To be or not to be? That is indeed the question, Mr. Naruhodo. To be or not to be? Brushed off. That is the question. And the answer is all too clear. Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace, shall we? Okay. Let's get a move on. 19th of February, Mr. Garrideb's room. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forget his name, still hard at work down there? Mr. Herlock Sholmes? Ah, yes, right. Rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there. That's a good way to put it. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me... Ah! For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what your belly well doing? I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir. Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind. Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance. Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. Okay, I don't suppose he's gonna let me examine anything, or anything's come up new. No. Okay, I guess we can just leave then. Where do we go now? Sure. Remember the rules of the green text. If it doesn't come up, then you haven't advanced the story. So, it's not here. Let's check the prison. Aha! It seems that we can't meet with Mr. Natsume at the moment. Oh. He's being briefed about his appearance in court tomorrow, apparently. I see. Isn't that our job? Yes, the trial is only a day away. Alright then, let's come back later. Yes. I really hope he's not answering any more questions with inappropriate textbook answers like, yes, I do. Okay. Nothing here. It's the only place left. Huh. Well, hold on. Let's... Huh. Let's go to Mr. Natsume's room. Okay, Holmes is gone. Okay, let's go to Holmes's suite. Oh! Iris is hard at work at her desk. Look. She's tapping away on her typewriter so fast her fingers are a blur. Sorry, I can't stop. I have to meet the deadline for the next issue. Oh, I see. You must be very busy then. Don't disturb her, Mr. Naruhodo. Susato wants her stories. I won't, so you can lower your arms now, please. Okay, let's see. Well, let's check the prison, because we left right away. And we never examined here, so... Oh, we can't examine. We can't do anything. It's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it's... I already looked at this. According to Inspector Grayson, that's the house where Mr. Natsume was lodging. Just across the road is where the incident took place. It's just... This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's very wide. It's a very wide open space, isn't it? That's true. You can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Oi! What are you foreigners doing here? Oh, we, just conspiring with that mustache fella from Japan, are you? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you a what? An iding? An idin? Go on. He shoot us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. Okay. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Carriages come down this road. You're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed all in black. I worry coachmen might not see you and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Okay, that's very interesting. Because something with a knife, and it just so happens to be on a road where carriages come down a lot. Like an omnibus, right? Very interesting. See, there was nothing here, right? What am I supposed to do? Okay, it's not at the prison. Okay, Sholmes is sweet. If I can't find anything, then I'm just gonna have to. If I can't find the way forward, I'm just gonna have to go to each of these locations and start examining things. Oh my God! What's he doing over there? Mr. Sholmes! Aha, we meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in? When did you sneak in here? Sherlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. Whatever were you doing over by the window? I am given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madam. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye on one's windows at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. And one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in the need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about... Is he... I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Do you mean Mr. Sholmes's... There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. I think so. There is just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. I love these. Mr. Garadeb, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon. The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Eh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Mr. Naruhodo, look! The old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on. How could you possibly? How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. Ugh. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Yes. The game is afoot. Nature of the beast. Certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a ferocious beast has been on a rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has been fueled by your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration becomes so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? Yet living with such a wild beast proved much more difficult than you had imagined. There was like a scar on the other side of his face. I just caught a glimpse of it. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well! Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance at your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrideb, at Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I have made my point. Deduction. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. The aftermath. Now, Mr. Garrideb, it's plainly clear that you still have a deep feeling for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is very tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Oh, you know what? That's a handprint. It's his own handprint on his cheek. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to answer the question. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. Ah! For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can clearly be seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I am not mistaken. Oh, dearie me! What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yet, yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. Ah! There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if you had no bread, let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There is only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Okay, this is beyond ridiculous. Thus concluding Sherlock Sholmes's great deduction, this beastly puzzle. Ah! What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garrideb. I'm afraid I didn't notice. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. I stand to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times too. And the kitty cat's here. Say hello. Okay. Whatever. Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation? Yes, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it again? Well, your deductions just now... Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size? Indeed, It is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies beyond the realms of common wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well? You're blocking the screen, kiddo. But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garrideb and his maid would have been hurt, or worse. Ah, that's where you're stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon. Thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I have ever heard of a lion that drinks tea. Ah, my dear Miss Susato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great Britain soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again. I had a feeling that was coming. A slight massage, that's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it. Exactly, I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't bump the mic stand, kiddo. The cat is just... she's all over me right now. Okay, lay down. We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least that's what I want to believe. Let us start again, from the beginning, of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Course correction. Hold on. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Okay, so we're going to go through this again. See, the beast has been on a rampage. Thus we are faced with the question, what form does this beast take? Your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us in the direction to the answer. True nature of the beast that has run rampant will be that lion statue. I really didn't see the lion thing coming. No, but if you observe Mr. Garrideb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in this room. Yes, something with a very fierce nature. Couldn't have been a lion transported from India. What was it then? We must follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. Okay, so we gotta figure out. Okay, what the hell are we... Oh, here we go. I was... Okay, it's gotta be. The true identity of the beast that tore this room apart is in these shells with their butter wouldn't melt accomplice, the cannon. But war is good for nothing. It brings only destruction. Something we must all strive to understand. Precisely was your intention with that, Mr. Naruhodo. Just following the natural progression of deduction. Sometimes the truth hurts. But the truth is, you do not have a turn for observation or deduction. Did that hurt? Yes, a lot. Oh no! Are you kidding me? Okay, so it was something else? Oh wait, what's this? What is this? What's this photograph? It appears to be from Mr. Garrett's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out his bride. How unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. Wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there. Okay, that's weird because okay, so that's really the only thing over here that he could have been looking at, so we'll just say
Take that!
take that! Behind the lion statue on the mantelpiece, almost deliberately hidden from view, is a photograph. Though I have yet to examine it in detail, I can assure you that it holds the answer. Because I'm employing an oh no! Well, jumping to conclusions, you see. Lead to this mindless conclusion. Oh, well, it's supposed to be a logic and reasoning spectacular, so I thought I'd contribute to the show. This is my show, Mr. Naruhodo. Kindly perform any particular experiments on your own time. Great. Shit. Well, that sucked. Okay, so these do get more difficult. Oh, glass is broken, so you can't see the bride's face at all. But no amount of cracks could hide the woman's plump form. I think powerful would be kinder than plump, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, she certainly looks that. There's a lot of horsepower there. Not someone you'd want to upset, that's for sure. Oh look, have you noticed her wedding ring? It's very large, isn't it? Yes, that's an unusual design. Looks like some sort of embellished sunflower. Mr. Garrett's was still in the army. Must be carrying his rather stout bride effortlessly and beaming a smile at the same time. He was very strong in his younger years. Hard to imagine now. He's as thin as a rake. I don't know.
Take that!
Oh man, I don't like this. Oh wait, that was the shatters. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrett's. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and note that the considerable horsepower they must contain. Oh, indeed, surely any woman of such power, such powerful constitution, would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching it a point. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late. The fact remains that the beast, which so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Gyarados. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well, gee, I wonder who his wife is. Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to, madam? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's... Poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Mrs. Gyarados anywhere. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. I wonder where Mr. Gyarados' wife could be. Well, well, what have we here? She's wearing a very large ring, look. Oh yes, a sunflower design with some rather nice embellishment. And it's on the ring finger on her left hand, which means it's surely a wedding ring. Looks like it's on there for life, too. I can't imagine it would slide off a finger of that size. That's something to think, Mr. Naruhodo, not to say. Do you know Mr. Gyarados' wife in the photograph? Do you know Mr. Gyarados' wife in the photograph had a ring very much like this one? It was a large sunflower design as well. Really? You have a great memory for those things, for these things. A large sunflower wedding ring. It's quite a coincidence that they have the same ring, isn't it?
Take that!
Take that! Shattered. Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Maybe you should stop calling her a beast. Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Gyarados' bride in this photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Gyarados' lucky bride. You are Mrs. Gyarados herself. Oh my word! Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmised, this is the wife, yes, my Joan. Rather let herself go, you might say, but she's... Ah! It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell you. I was second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. Household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearance are a folly. You mean Mr. Garrideb has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garrideb? Only in company, obviously. But listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please. The raging wife of Mr. Garrideb. Aftermath. Okay. Now, Mr. Garrideb. It is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. He's upset that we keep calling his wife a beast. Indeed, in the blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel being revealed by Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garrideb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. But Mr. Garrideb is standing beside her husband. Mrs. Garrideb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved wife at all, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify? Okay. Oh. It's not his handprint. It's her handprint.
Take that!
Take that. Slapped cheek. She's a spousal abuser. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. Wow, she hit him that way. That's like a face palm. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade was you, Madame Joan Garrideb. Well, yes. You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Ugh. How the blazes? How did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. To keep your other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills. No. Didn't Mr. Sholmes say that the bills were all for lion fodder? Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all the food is Mr. Garrideb's wife. Mr. Naruhodo. She's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, She's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap round the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. Let's see. Well, let's take a look at this. Aha. Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here. Mr. Garrett is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh no, it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh James, I love you. You're yours, Mary. And look to the signature here. Lip marks made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any ideas, Susato. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So this bookmark is actually a love note, then. Very interesting. Alright, yes. It is this. Okay, no. It is this.
Take that!
Take that! Yes, it is this love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. Jeez. But I don't know the bally woman. You don't know her? That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say. That's right, it was just... Ah! A likely story. Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained at the time. I bought the book at the second-hand place, and that note must already have been there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean? That's right, that's what... Ah! A likely story. For heaven's sake, woman! Look at the name. It's written as James. My name, in case you've forgotten, is Ah! A likely story. Are you questioning my name now? And there we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with a most ferocious bite. Ugh. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I am not mistaken. Oh dearie me! What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. But surely Mrs. Garrideb didn't eat the carpet. No, of course not. But there doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray that this room is in is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true. So this is the last part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction that we need to fix. We need only to follow Mrs. Garrideb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer. Alright, let's see what we can see. Yes. Okay. We gotta... What is that? Yes. Oh, you know what? Okay, get off the carpet. Here's what we're looking for. Very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. Looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over. Oh dear, that would be dangerous. Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing. Yes, I didn't notice that before. Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of 3 missing from the holder? Well, can you look at the candle on the floor? Look, it's right there. Well, anyway. Let's just go for it. Take that. Candlestick. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks? It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garrideb's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused the candle to fall from the holder, and in seconds the carpet was alight and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, For the most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir, I salute you. Carpet scorched by a small fire. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary, rather. But I think I'm gonna have to call it right there. Because it's about 2 hours, so I think that's gonna have to be it. Thank you for watching, and I am out of here.